welcome to The Explainer. Okay, today we're absolutely shattering the illusion of the so-called affordable modern lifestyle. We're going to look at the cold, hard numbers behind the financial decisions that millions of people make every single day. Decisions that, look completely normal on the surface, but are mathematically designed to keep you broke. You know that feeling? It's 3 a.m., you're lying awake, staring at the ceiling, and your mind is just racing. You're thinking, what if the car breaks down? What if the roof starts leaking? Listen, if you feel that kind of financial anxiety, I want to validate that for you right now. It is incredibly common. And it's not because you aren't working hard enough. It's actually because the societal expectations we've just casually normalized, the shiny cars, the massive starter homes, they are secretly bankrupting us. Okay, let's dive into this. $1,200. Now, that is not a mortgage payment from 10 years ago. That is what regular, everyday people are currently paying every single month for a new pickup truck. Teachers, nurses, retail workers. People are literally signing on the dotted line for a rapidly depreciating metal box that costs more than the median household income. So how on earth are they doing it?
Well, that brings us to Section 1, the modern debt illusions.
The financial system has gotten incredibly sophisticated at disguising total wealth destruction as a quote-unquote perfectly manageable monthly payment. The days of the 3-year car loan? Yeah, those are dead and gone. Today, lenders are stretching loans to 7 or even 8 years. The monthly payment might look reasonable, but you end up trapped in this vicious cycle of negative equity, owing way more than the vehicle is actually worth, and when people get tired of the car, they just roll that negative equity right into a brand new 8-year loan. It's a total financial hamster wheel. It turns buyers into a captive audience for dealerships. And let's be real, they don't even sell cars anymore. They sell lifestyles and identities. They use emotional manipulation to make a crippling monthly payment feel like an investment in yourself.
Now get this, because the brutal math here is truly eye-opening. Let's say you buy a $55,000 truck on a 7-year loan. By the time you add up that $800 monthly payment, the higher insurance premiums, the fuel, and the maintenance, you're going to spend roughly $130,000 on transportation over those 7 years. And what do you actually have to show for it at the end? A metal box worth maybe $15,000. But think about this. If you took that exact same $800 a month and invested it at an 8% return, you generate over $70,000 in wealth. So you're effectively paying $130,000 for the sheer privilege of driving a $15,000 truck. That is literally wealth destruction with heated seats.
Let's pivot now to Section 2, the brutal housing math. Society loves to tell us that a $500,000 house is just a normal starter home. But let's actually break down the real monthly cost. Most folks can't just drop $100,000 cash down payment, right? So they skip the 20%. Well, that triggers a whole cascade of hidden costs. You've got your mortgage at roughly $2,850. Then you have to add $500 for property taxes, $300 for insurance, another $417 to cover basic maintenance, and $300 for PMI, private mortgage insurance, which is a literal penalty fee for not having enough cash up front. Suddenly, that normal starter home is a staggering $4,367 monthly obligation.
To put that into perspective, let's look at what that does to a seemingly successful upper-middle-class couple making a combined $160,000 a year. After taxes and your basic deductions, their take-home pay is about $9,500 a month. But that $4,367 housing cost we just talked about, that eats up nearly 46% of their take-home pay right off the bat. Add in the car payment, student loans, groceries, and utilities, and they have almost zero left over for emergencies or real investing. They are completely, totally house poor. They're working exhausting jobs just to pay for walls they're too stressed out to even appreciate.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 3, the $10,000 shift. So how do we actually step off this crazy treadmill of societal debt? Well, it starts with a psychological milestone just as much as a financial one. Think about it. When you have zero savings, every unexpected expense is a full-blown catastrophe. But neuroscientists have actually found that accumulating a 5-figure bank balance physically reduces the cortisol levels in your brain. That's your body's primary stress hormone. Having $10,000 in the bank acts as this incredible physiological shield. Suddenly, a check engine light coming on or a minor medical bill goes from being a financial disaster that completely ruins your month to just a mild annoyance. When you live paycheck to paycheck, your brain is effectively trapped in survival mode. You're constantly playing defense, you're reacting to crises, and you're operating from this deep place of scarcity. But hitting that $10,000 milestone, that unlocks opportunity mode. You suddenly have the mental bandwidth to start looking at ways to increase your income, to optimize your bills, and to make proactive decisions for your future, purely because you aren't constantly gasping for financial air.
Here's the real kicker, though. Saving this initial money isn't just about the math. It is a fundamental identity shift. Most people treat saving like a temporary crash diet, right? They restrict themselves, they burn out, and then they bounce right back to their old habits. But the people who successfully build long-term wealth realize that saving isn't a temporary sacrifice. It's about becoming a completely different type of person. And that identity shift is what permanently protects you from those 3 a.m. panics.
All right, moving into section 4, the wealth momentum effect. Once you actually build that identity of a saver, you'll eventually cross the $20,000 threshold. And that's when you experience the sheer incredible acceleration of compound interest. If you're saving and investing $1,000 a month at an 8% return, getting your first $20,000 is going to take about 19 months of really grueling uphill discipline. But your second $20,000, that only takes 17 months. You put in the exact same effort, but you just shave 2 full months off the timeline because your money is finally doing the heavy lifting right alongside you. That's the magic of compounding.
And having this amount saved completely transforms your career, too. It creates what we like to call walking away money. If your boss is terrible or the work environment is toxic, you aren't trapped by the desperate need for next week's paycheck. You can negotiate for raises, you can push back on unreasonable demands, or you can just walk away entirely. You're operating from a position of absolute strength, which naturally is going to accelerate your income growth.
And that leads us right into section 5, the optimal investment blueprint. Once you've got that solid foundation, how exactly do you allocate your money to build serious generational wealth? Well, everyone wants to jump straight to the sexy stuff, day trading individual stocks or buying crypto. But if you do that while you're still holding on to 22% credit card debt, it's literally like trying to fill a bucket that has massive holes drilled in the bottom. So here is the absolute optimal blueprint. Step 1, build the emergency fund. Step 2, eliminate that high interest debt. Step 3, capture your employer match. Step 4, maximize your HSA and IRA. And finally, step 5, max out the rest of your 401k and your taxable accounts. When you start reframing your money in terms of guaranteed returns, absolutely everything changes. Paying off a credit card that charges 22% interest, that is a guaranteed 22% return on your money, which, by the way, is way better than Warren Buffett's long-term average. But you know what's even better than that? Your employer match. If your company matches your retirement contributions, that is an immediate, guaranteed 100% return on your money. You absolutely cannot leave that on the table. No way. And nested right there in step 4 is arguably the most underrated investment vehicle in America, the HSA, or Health Savings Account. It is a triple tax-advantaged absolute powerhouse. You get tax-deductible contributions on the way in, you get tax-free growth while it's invested, and you get tax-free withdrawals for any medical expenses. Considering the average couple is going to face over $300,000 in healthcare costs during retirement, a maxed-out HSA can essentially make those massive expenses just completely disappear. So the math is completely clear here, right? The system is literally designed to sell you cars that destroy your wealth and houses that keep you stressed out and trapped. So here's the big question you have to answer for yourself today. Will you keep playing their rigged game, financing the exact lifestyle that the banks and the dealerships want you to have? Or are you going to step off the treadmill, follow the math, and start funding your own freedom? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.